How's it going, everyone? So this is a very basic little video on how to charge a hybrid battery without a special charger like the Prolong or any other expensive charger. It's a very simple setup with a sheet of plywood at the bottom for support, and then you're gonna need 4 bolts and 12 nuts. If you guys want to add more bolts to support the aluminum bars a little more, you can, but I just went with 4. And then you're basically going to drill 2 holes in each aluminum bar and then slide the bolts through. The bolts I got are 8 inches long, um, but any bolts from about 6 inches and higher will do. I just wanted to give myself a little bit more room at the bottom. So after you drill all the holes, you're going to slide it through the bar, then put a nut underneath to tighten the bolt to the bar, then start sliding another nut, and then slide the bolt through the plywood, and then spin on another bolt at the bottom to tighten the bolt to the plywood. Now you do want to make sure you're not putting this on top of a metal workbench, because then the bolts at the bottom will all be connected and you're going to have sparks flying everywhere. Okay, so after you've arranged and set up the brackets with the bolts and the plywood and everything, you're going to take all your battery cells and line them up in parallel, stack them on the brackets in parallel. That means all the negative sides need to be on one side and all the positive terminals of the hybrid cells need to be on one side. Do not stack negative and positive on one side. Otherwise, you'll have sparks and you can fry the cell or other things can go wrong. But put all the negatives on one side and then all the positives on one side. Okay, so after you stacked the cells accordingly, whichever ones you want to recondition or recharge or whatever your purpose is, go ahead and start connecting the jumper cables. On the video, I started with the positive, but it's always safer to connect the negatives first. But I've been kind of doing it for a while, so I'm not too worried, but always connect the negative first. Now you'll see here when you connect it, the voltage on the meter starts to go higher. That's because you have the 12 volt going into an 8 volt or 6 volt cell, whatever your cells are rated at. If they're lower than the 12 volt battery, that 12 volt will transfer the electricity to the hybrid cell modules. And you don't want to leave it on too long, no more than safely 15 seconds. And what the aluminum brackets do is they start to balance your battery as well. Now that 8.20 volts you see on the screen, that's the average of all the 34 cells from the hybrid battery. Some are lower, some are a little bit higher, but that's the average of all of them together. But what this bracket does is it's basically transferring the higher cells to the lower cells, the voltage from the higher cells to the lower cells until they all equal out. And this is what I have found to be one of the best methods of recharging or rebalancing a hybrid battery. Um, there's another guy who I got this idea from, I think it's Hybrid Something Solutions, and he basically has the same setup. Um, but this way, you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on a Prolong charger or some of the other brands. This is a very efficient and effective way. If you can afford a Prolong charger or any of the other brands, I would, just go ahead and buy it. But this is for people, who don't really want to spend hundreds of dollars on a charger. Um, and, this kind of works the same way. but with this, the balancing for me is more effective. And I've left the cells on this balancer. I left them on the brackets for about 2 days. Once you see, the average voltage across them is not changing anymore, that's when you can go ahead and if you need to raise the voltage on the cells even higher, if your cells are like 6 point something, they might be bad or whatever the situation is. But if you want to raise the average higher, keep repeating this process. But again, don't leave the jumper cables connected longer than 15 seconds safely. And this way I didn't notice any swelling, no weird smells or swelling or anything like that. But I think when I started this process, the average was around 7.6 or something like that. And this is after 2 days, the average is sitting at about 8.2. But if you want to recondition a battery or if you want to rebalance a battery, this method for me is one of the most effective ways again. So yeah, I might have forgotten some information. If you guys have any questions or comments or improvements, drop them down in the comment section below and I'll try to get back to you guys as soon as possible. And if you guys like the video, I would really appreciate it if you guys like it or subscribe to the channel. Thank you.